Hello and welcome to the Behind Enemy Lines YouTube channel. Tonight we're going to be painting a Humvee from Battlefronts Team Yankee from the Ryan's Leathernecks box. That there was what we're hoping to achieve with these colours. Not using too many, about 5, I can't count. But one of them is a mix, so we'll class that as 4. So 3 of them are Tamiya's and 2 are standard Vallejo, nothing special about them. So what we're going to do, of course, we'll need silly putty as well. So the XF58 olive green, XF60 dark yellow, and XF49, which I think is khaki. We're going to start with a couple of the Humvees assembled. It's the grenade launcher and the tow missile launcher. And we're not even going to bother undercoating them. I was going to undercoat them with the black, but I decided I'm just going to see what happens if I go straight with the green. So there's been no undercoating whatsoever on this vehicle at all. So this is straight over the plastic with the XF60, I think it is, for olive green. I couldn't find it. The camo color I'm aiming for is I think it's a summer verdant that I was aiming to achieve with this. So what I'm going to do is just spray the whole vehicle, and then once it's all done, I'm going to move on to the next bit, which is always my favorite, covering things in silly putty. Now it's very tacky, this silly putty. I prefer it to blue tack. Blue tack tends to pull up a lot easier and can leave a greasy trail, whereas the silly putty doesn't seem to have that same effect. So now I'm going with a mix of XF49, which is khaki, and XF60, which is a dark yellow. There it is in my little mixing cup. So it should look something like that. And it does give like a nice hard edge camo look to it, and I really enjoy that. And I think this modern or 80s camouflage does apply itself to that. So here we're just filling in the spaces between the silly putty, and that's going to leave a nice transition. Like it's going to be a hard transition. Of course, that's what hard edge camo is all about. It's my favorite kind of camouflage. Alright, there we are, all done. To be honest, the silly putty part of it is not my favorite. It's actually the removing of the silly putty, which is my favorite part of the whole hard edge camo process. There are other tools out there on the market, like Panzer Putty. Panzer Putty appears to be specially designed for this exact process, but it's a brand name thing. I'm pretty sure it's just black silly putty, whereas silly putty's a couple of bucks and available everywhere. Panzer Putty is special order from modeling shops, and of course probably quadruple the price. So doing my favorite thing here, which is removing the silly putty and hoping that my wobbly lines got in the right place. Looking at them, they mostly did, which is great. I'm not worrying about the weapon systems, they'll be a different color anyway. So don't worry about windows, tires, and all the lights and tail lights and things. Just dab your silly putty with more silly putty. It's the best thing to pull it off. The other things will be painted later, so not so much of a drama. I think at the time I was filming this, it was a hot summer day. That's why the silly putty was a bit drippy. Right now it's middle of June where we are in New Zealand, and a lot colder, so my silly putty won't run as much anymore. So that's another thing to be aware of. Silly putty does get a bit it's affected by heat and humidity, but by cold not so much. The cold will actually help it to be a bit harder, but it will still retain its adhesiveness. But in my experience, even when I pull really hard on it, the silly putty doesn't remove any paint, which is fantastic. So remember what I did at the start. This was just the green paint straight over the plastic without any undercoat whatsoever. It's just because I wanted to try and retain the green to be a bit brighter in this particular camouflage scheme. So I did that by not putting a black undercoat. I could have gone with a grey or like a white undercoat, but I've just opted for none, saves time, and right now it's looking pretty good. Well, it's actually just looking like a weird, swampy, stripy set of vehicles. Now, we're going to move on to the next colour very soon, because we're going to need to do a brown. Now, I think that is a German camo beige. I can't tell because this part was filmed a while back, and I lost the can of water, bottle of water is somewhere on my bench. So what I'm doing here is I'm just blending the line between the khaki, and I'm trying to get my camera angle right. So it's unfortunately got a bit cut off. I will realise that I'm doing this in about a second or so. So as you can see, they're just blending the lines between the olive green and the combo of khaki and dark yellow. There we go. So we just try and make these lines a bit bigger, touching both colours going across each one, kind of being the tie-in for it. There we are, found where we need to go. So, and I'm using a very fine brush for this. So this is the Army Painter, I think it's the fine detail brush that they have. You don't need to have special brushes for this. I mean, I wouldn't bust out the Winsor & Newton's Series 7s for this bad boy here. That's more for your big projects. This is about getting them on the table. And anytime I get out an airbrush, it's usually because I want to get something on the table fast. But I also want them to look good. So even though this part is reasonably quick with an airbrush and a hard edge camo, and then the brown bits of actual hand painting camouflage on, it will look nice once it's all done. I promise you that. Now, a lot of people ask, like, an airbrush is like cheating. No, it's not. It's just another tool. I still use an airbrush, paintbrush, as you could see there. And yeah, it's a great tool to have. I mean, I spent a few $100s on mine because I wanted a really good one. And yeah, it's a good tool, but painting with the paintbrush still, you've got to use it in combination. That's black there, no mistake. But it's a great tool to have in your kit to go with that. Some things, like infantry, I'll hand paint the whole lot, but vehicles and the like, I'll give them a quick couple of coats with the airbrush first. They do better gradients than hand brushing. So here we are doing the other counter camouflage. Once again, I'm doing some very artistic type strokes and pointing out where I would put the camouflage, and also deciding where to go. So there's a few pictures online. Remember to look those up. I looked up camouflage schemes that I seem to like, and Summer Verdant was the one that was closest to this one. Yeah, so what we'll do now is just going to come back later on. We'll do the windows, we'll do the tires, and we'll show you the finished result. Boom. Here we go. So after we finish this, we did a bit of mud on the tires and around the bottom of the vehicle. Give it a couple of coats of matte varnish. It's good to go. Yeah, so whip up a bunch of these. No dramas. Remember, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.